Dresden. This is the anniversary week of when Dresden was bombed 75 or 80 years ago, I'm not sure, I can't remember. Dresden was one of the worst atrocities ever to happen in the Second World War. Was it the big bad Nazis that done it? No, sadly. It was my people, your people, it was the British and the Americans. We bombed a city that was crammed full of refugees. No other reason, there was no factors there making any difference to the war effort, and the war was almost over, and we did that. What was it all about? Join me in the Templar Report and we'll have a good, honest look at this. See you there. Hello again, Jim Dowson here, guest presenter on the Templar Report. Somebody once said to me the other week, why, how come you're the only guest presenter? Oh, there is in different countries, but people who speak English, I'm the best we've got. And some people say, I need subtitles. Anyway, what are we going to talk about today? I want to bring to your attention that this week is the anniversary of the World War II bombing of Dresden. Now, it's okay for us to become gung-ho and all the rest of it, but I just want people to think for a minute. Dresden was bombed at the very end of the war. It was a city in Saxony, Germany, Lower Germany, that was basically rammed full of refugees. There were 300,000 refugees in it at the time. And from the 14th of February to the 17th of April, the American Air Force and the British Air Force, mainly Americans, but backed up by the British, dropped 10,000 tons of high explosives and goodness knows how many tons of incendiaries, causing one of Europe's only whirlwind firestorms. Estimates of how many people died go from 50,000 to 200,000. Nobody really knows because a lot of people there were refugees, undocumented, and we destroyed that city. Now, you know, we're very big in the West, Britain and America, screaming about war crimes and all the rest of it. But to me, this was one of the most shameful things. And I'm no friend of the Nazis. My father fought in the Second World War against these people. But that city was crammed full of refugees. There was no economic targets there. There was no war effort targets there. The war was almost over. It was finished. There was nothing of any strategic importance there. It was filled with German refugees and about 200,000 Polish refugees. And the British and American bosses decided they were going to flatten it. And I just want to think of the terror of that. If you are a woman, a mother, your husband's away at war or he's maybe dead already, then you're sitting in a basement. Because most people died in their basements, just suffocated by lack of air, because the firestorm whipped the air out the atmosphere. And they're bombing during the day and they're bombing during the night. And you're talking about maybe 1,000, 1,200 heavy bombers flying over twice a day. Can you imagine that? You know, we'll look at some of the things we see now and we think, wow, we suffered all this in Europe. I mean, if you ever look at a map of where the bombs fell in London, in fact, I'll show you the map. Have a look at this. Can you imagine that? Can you actually comprehend that? London, I'm sure a lot of people watching this have been to London. There's hardly a square foot of London that at least one bomb did not drop on. Incredible. So that's what we put up with. And that's why in Europe we're nowhere near as gung-ho as a lot of people are in America. Because when you live through, 1,000 planes in the morning and 1,000 planes in the evening bombing you every single day, you suddenly realise war's not so much fun. Now that doesn't mean to say we shouldn't fight and we shouldn't be aware of what the cost of fighting is. Of course we should, but I think we need to think of humanity as well. And whether we were right, whether we were wrong, I'm not going to criticise the British, I'm not going to criticise the Americans. What I would say is there's something wrong when we can be so vicious against our fellow man. These people were Christian, these people were white, these people were European, and we did that to them. And then we point fingers at people in other parts of the world and say, look what they're doing to their people. Look what we've done to our own people. Germany flattened our cities, we flattened theirs. You know, we need to make sure there is no more brothers' wars ever again. And I live in Ireland, sometimes I live in Serbia and everywhere else, but I come back to Ireland and we're split. We used to be split, orange and green, Catholic and Protestant. That's dying, thank God. Now we're split left and right. So we need to make sure that we just don't have these brothers' wars anymore. But that is almost impossible, because if somebody is a communist, well, I can never join forces with them, ever. If somebody is a crazed liberal who's in favour of LGBTQ+, gay marriage, abortion and everything, I can never join forces with them. So they're not my brother. So we need to be careful, because there are a lot of people, especially in America, who their whole political outlook and allegiances are based on one thing only, this: the colour of your skin. That's not good enough, my friend. Most of the people I know who I hate and would gladly go to war with, same colour as me. When I say no more brothers' wars, I just don't mean, I do mean also, but not only us European, people of European descent. I also mean people of the Christian faith. Somebody showed me a hideous thing that's sweeping Europe at the moment. This ethno music. It's nothing short of demonic. They've got big horns in their head and everything. No way am I ever going to class these people as my brother just because they've got white skin. So, I'm not a civic nationalist, but I think we have to be a wee bit more realistic in our outlook. And I think that's why a lot of these white supremacist groups go off the rails, because they accept anybody. Pagans, witchcraft people, homosexuals, people who worship even Satan. They accept anybody as long as you're white. Well, I'm afraid in the Templars our standards are a bit higher, and so should yours. So just spare a thought this week for and it is an iconic event, the bombing of Dresden, and we should think of the people who lost their lives, think of the people who died in the most unbelievable, terrifying circumstances, and redouble our efforts to reach out to people across the world, that there is no more brothers' wars, and the next time we're united across the Anglo sphere against a common enemy, and that common enemy is going to be globalists / neocons / liberals. It's all the same bag, because they're going to come after us. If you look at that Bernie Sanders in America or Jeremy Corbyn here, they look liberal, they talk liberal, but let me tell you, there's nothing liberal about them. And if they gain a foothold of power, whether it be in the United Kingdom or the United States of America, they will slaughter us. They will slaughter us. They won't do that right away. They'll make laws up that you can't say anything or you'll lose your job. That we've already got that in Britain. Hundreds of people per week, lose their jobs for putting on Twitter or on Facebook, I don't like gay marriage. Nothing else, no vitriol, just that. Bang, you're out. And companies in Britain can legally sack you for saying that on social media. Incredible. But that's how it starts. And the next thing will be prosecutions. And remember, we have so many street preachers now being charged and found guilty of preaching the words of this Bible. One guy was preaching Romans 1, you know what it talks about, giving yourself up to ungodly lusts. He was took to court in Scotland and convicted. It's happening every single week. We've had plenty of street preachers and even ministers in their own church being prosecuted. One minister said that, in his opinion, and according to God's holy scripture, Islam was a wicked faith. He was prosecuted. He was dragged through the courts. This is a preacher man in his 70s, in his late 70s. Yeah, and he faced jail time. But thank God, everybody got together, Catholics, Protestants, everybody, and fought the case to the High Court, and he was eventually acquitted. But that was because it was Northern Ireland. If this would have been Scotland, England or Wales, he would have went to jail. So that's where we are, folks. Let's keep focused. Let's make sure that we don't allow these people in, because that's what they do. They discriminate, then they legislate, then they persecute. And if sending you to the gulag for a couple of years doesn't work, then they'll kill you. You think I'm joking? You're in for a shock. And if you look about the world, most of the world isn't free. So our freedoms are not free. Our freedoms were bought by the blood of our fathers, our grandfathers and our great-grandfathers. Our freedom was bought by the blood of the martyrs and the heroes who fought in the wars for centuries. So don't forget that. So every time you let it slip when somebody says to you, yeah, gay marriage is really good, or immigration, what's the problem? Don't dare let that slip, because you're a coward then. You think of the people who lay in ditches all over this world, in France and Germany and everywhere, Vietnam, wherever, who lay in ditches with the bullets whizzing by them, scrape them off their friend's blood. You think of them, men, the next time you say, I'm going to let this slip, I don't want the hassle. You have the hassle. You bloody stand up for what's right and what's wrong, regardless of the row you cause, or the place you get flung out of, or the family member who never invites you around for Christmas again. Who cares? You owe it to the heroes of the past who gave you your freedom to defend that freedom. And that means from actually standing up with a gun in a battle, or just upsetting the dinner table. Never, ever, ever let a Liberal off. Ever. Challenge them every time. Out them every time. Confront them every time. And face them down every single time. If you can't do that at the dinner table, all this talk about you're going to defend your country to the last drop of blood in your veins, all baloney. So let's get ourselves into that frame of mind where you let nothing slide and get stuck into these people who talk rubbish. Because I'm fed up with them. I'm sure you are too. Anyway, that's all from me in the Templar report. Join me again in the next report, and I'm sure there's other things we need to talk about. And there's a conference coming up. We'll maybe go through that then. And remember, stick close to God, and you won't go far wrong.
The threat is real, and we are on the front line. In a world of misinformation and attacks from the left and mainstream media, censorship, deplatforming, it is time to call out the fake news and bring you the truth. We are the Knights Templar. Visit our website and join today. We are the Resistance. Deus Vult.